The studio lights beamed down in a calm yet commanding glow, capturing every detail of the live set. The energy in the room was electric. Producers hustling backstage, makeup artists doing last-minute touch-ups, the audience eagerly anticipating something unforgettable. The evening's episode of Real Conversations with Heart promised something truly unique. A dialogue between two of the most unexpected but deeply admired public figures. Keanu Reeves, the introspective Hollywood icon known for his quiet generosity, and Jonathan Roumie, the actor beloved for portraying Jesus in The Chosen and a rising voice in the world of faith and compassion. No one could have predicted how deeply emotional, raw, and inspiring the next hour would become. The host, Mayah Carrington, smiled brightly as the camera panned to her. "Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we welcome men who represent so much of what's missing in our world: humility, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to kindness. Please welcome Keanu Reeves and Jonathan Roumie." The crowd erupted in applause as Keanu and Jonathan walked onto the stage. Keanu wore his signature black suit and soft smile, while Jonathan, ever gracious, extended a warm hand. They shook, nodded respectfully, and took their seats. It was meant to be a lighthearted conversation about their careers, their philosophies, and their shared love for storytelling. But something deeper stirred within Keanu that evening, something he hadn't shared publicly before. As the conversation flowed naturally, touching on acting, discipline, and the strange duality of fame, Mayah leaned forward and asked, "Keanu, many people admire your silence, your depth, but not many know what grounds you. Is there anything spiritual in your life that gives you strength?" The audience leaned in. Jonathan turned slightly, his expression curious. It was a question often asked of Keanu, but never truly answered. Keanu looked down for a moment, rubbing his thumb against the silver ring on his finger. Then looking up, he said softly, "You know, for most of my life, I've been searching, not for answers necessarily, but for peace. I've faced loss early. I've faced pain. And through it all, I kept wondering, what's the point of all this if there's no meaning?" Jonathan's eyes softened. Keanu continued, "I never really spoke about this, but I do believe there's something greater than us. It's not necessarily a man on a throne in the sky, but a divine kindness, a purpose. I've seen it in people, in moments of tragedy and love, that there's something sacred going on in the background of all this noise." The studio fell utterly silent. Jonathan cleared his throat but didn't interrupt. And recently, Keanu added, his voice steady, "I've been reading more about faith. Not religion, but faith. It's the kind that shows up in people like you, Jonathan. It's people who carry light even when the world grows darker. You remind me that faith isn't just about beliefs, it's about actions and how you live when no one's watching." The camera caught Jonathan's stunned expression. His lips parted slightly as if to respond, but no words came. Keanu smiled. "When I watched The Chosen, I saw more than a show. I saw someone who believes in love without limits, forgiveness without requirements. That moved me." Jonathan placed his hand over his heart, visibly touched. "I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not sure what I believe about the universe," Keanu said, his eyes a little glossy, "but I know that something beautiful is guiding us. And if that's faith, then maybe I've had it all along and didn't know it." A quiet tear rolled down a woman's cheek in the front row. Even Mayah, the seasoned host, found herself blinking more than usual. Jonathan finally found his voice. "Keanu, I'm speechless, because what you just said, that's faith in its purest form. It's not always about certainty. Sometimes it's about moving forward anyway, with love." There was a long pause before the audience erupted into applause. Not the polite, expected kind, but the spontaneous kind that arises when something deeply human has been shared. The applause subsided slowly, as if no one wanted to interrupt the sacred silence that had filled the room moments before. Mayah leaned back in her chair, stunned by the vulnerability displayed. It wasn't every day that Hollywood royalty laid bare their souls so honestly. The air carried a strange stillness, the kind that follows something profound, a revelation. Keanu Reeves, known for being quiet and reserved, had just become a voice of spiritual reflection, and somehow it resonated far beyond the walls of that studio. Mayah's voice cracked gently as she resumed, "Jonathan, what does it mean to hear that from someone like Keanu? Jonathan Roumie smiled, still visibly moved. Means the world. People expect actors, especially those who play someone like Jesus, to have all the answers. But I don't. What I do have is faith that God meets people where they are. And tonight, he met Keanu in front of all of us. Maybe he met us all. The audience murmured in agreement. Some people were quietly wiping tears. Others simply stared at the two men in awe. Keanu leaned forward, his tone lighter, but sincere. When I was a kid, I thought faith was about rules. Like this long list of things you couldn't do. But the older I got, especially after I lost my daughter, then my partner, I realized it's less about rules and more about ... refuge. Faith isn't a cage. It's a hand reaching out to hold yours in the dark. The emotion in his voice broke through like sunlight in the clouds. I didn't go to church. I didn't kneel beside my bed. But when I visited sick kids in hospitals, when I paid rent anonymously for strangers, when I walked with a friend through cancer, something inside me said, "This is sacred. This is what matters." Jonathan clasped his hands. "That's the gospel in action, my friend." The studio remained hushed, like a sanctuary. Keanu turned to Jonathan. "When you play Christ, does it ever change you?" Jonathan chuckled, then nodded. "Every single day. You can't pretend to be Jesus and not feel the weight of love and forgiveness. It humbles you. And when I hear you speak like this, Keanu, I realize God works in mysterious ways. Sometimes through scripture, sometimes through pain, and sometimes through the most unexpected people." There was laughter, soft, reverent, from the audience. And Maya asked the question many were thinking but hadn't dared to say. "Keanu, would you say you believe in God?" Keanu smiled, not in a deflective way, but with deep peace. "I believe in love. I believe in kindness. I believe in a force that brings beauty out of ashes. And if that's God, then yes. I believe it wasn't a grand declaration. It didn't need to be. It was honest, and it carried more weight than any dogma ever could." Suddenly, a young girl in the audience raised her hand. Maya, surprised but welcoming, nodded. The girl stood up. "Mr. Reeves, my dad died last year, and he was your biggest fan. We watched The Matrix together all the time. And sometimes I felt like Neo gave him hope. I guess I just wanted to say thank you for giving people like my dad something to believe in." Keanu's face softened. He stood up, walked over to her, and embraced her. "Thank you," he whispered. "And your dad. He sounds like a real hero." The room stood up in applause. By the time Keanu returned to his seat, something had clearly shifted in the atmosphere. What started as a celebrity interview had become something sacred, a kind of sermon, not in religion, but in love, in humanity. Maya's closing words said it best. Tonight we were reminded that faith doesn't always show up in churches. Sometimes it shows up in kindness, in humility. Keanu Reeves. As the cameras cut and the credits rolled, the studio remained still. People didn't rush out. They lingered, as if afraid to break the spell. Jonathan and Keanu shook hands again, this time with a brotherly grip that spoke louder than any words. Backstage, producers and crew members approached both men in tears. One security guard even whispered, "That was the most real thing I've ever seen on this job." Keanu, quiet as ever, simply nodded and gave the man a pat on the back. Later that night, a clip from the show hit the internet. Within hours, it went viral. People from all faiths, and even those with none, shared the video, writing captions like, "This is the Keanu Reeves we didn't know we needed. Faith is alive and this proves it. More of this kind of Hollywood, please." Jonathan Roumie posted the video with a simple caption, "God moves in quiet hearts." And Keanu, he never commented. He didn't need to. His words had already done their work. Across the world, people sat in their homes, on buses, in hospital waiting rooms, watching the clip and feeling something stir inside them. Hope for all the noise and chaos in the world. Keanu Reeves reminded us that even in the stillest moments, love speaks. And sometimes the most powerful sermons don't come from pulpits. They come from the heart of a man who has walked through pain and chosen kindness anyway.